I'm Stacy LeBaron, and this is another edition of Chelsea Hubcats. Today, Rachel Geller joins us again to the show. Welcome. And she's a feline behaviorist and a board member with Cat Connection, an organization out of Waltham, Massachusetts. And we also have our regular here, Laura Appleton, my partner in crime. Thank you so much for joining us today. And she's on our outreach committee with the Hubcats Chelsea. So thank you again for joining us.
One of them.
I know. We're getting pretty good at this. It's getting to be a regular thing. And Rachel is our first time repeat guest. So thank you again. Chelsea Hubcats is a nonprofit organization that was founded about a year and a half ago to focus on the needs of cats within the city. We assist with free spay-neuter for cats and dogs, vaccination and microchipping clinics. We usually have 2 during the course of the year, which is free for any of the residents in Chelsea with their cats and dogs. For more information about our organization, you can always check us out at www.hubcatschelsea.com and find us on Facebook and join the team and help make a difference for cats and dogs in the city. Our phone number is 857-776-2287 and our email is hubcatschelsea@gmail.com. Mary Ann would be happy to talk with you and find out more about how we can work together to help the cats in the city. So, welcome, Rachel.
Thank you for having me.
Today's show is going to focus on my favorite big 3 feline behavior issues: peeing, scratching, and fighting with our cats inside and out. But first, Rachel, would you be willing to give us an update on what's been happening with you since our last show?
Sure, that would be great. So as you mentioned, I joined the board of the Cat Connection in Waltham, and I've also been invited to be part of the Humane Education Committee at Bay Path Humane Society in Hopkinton.
Oh, great.
And I'm actually going to be starting in November giving lectures and classes and seminars to volunteers and to the community. So I'm excited about that. And I have made a couple of other TV appearances talking about cat behavior, most recently on NECN, talking about cat behavior issues of the day. And I've been continuing with my own personal cat behavior and retention program through many different shelters in the area. So I think that's been keeping me busy.
That's great. It's fantastic. It's really a phenomenal resource to have this feline behaviorist willing to sort of help all across the state. So thank you so much for doing that.
You're welcome.
And Rachel, do you have a way for people to reach you if they have additional questions and they want to follow up after the show?
Absolutely. I can give up my email, which is drrachelgeller@gmail.com, drrachelgeller@gmail.com. I do provide my services completely free of charge. It's my personal mission that I never want there to be a financial barrier preventing someone from keeping their cat in their home. So yes, reach out and I will help you 100% every step of the way.
That's fantastic. So, Laura, I'll ask you to choose. Which of the big 3 is your favorite topic to talk about?
Favorite?
Peeing, scratching, or fighting?
Let's talk about peeing first.
Okay.
So what are the things that you see most often with regards to peeing issues with cats in the house?
So I would say when somebody calls me and says, my cat is not using the litter box, usually it's because the person thinks that the cat is going to think the same way a person would. So for example, the person has gone overboard on something like privacy, where the box is located, and often it's places that a cat may really not like. So for example, a really popular location for litter boxes seems to be the bathroom, maybe wedging it between the toilet and the wall, annexes, mudrooms, kind of the people thinking that they want the litter box out of the way and behind something so the cat can have privacy. But really then what happens is cats prefer to have clear, clean sight lines around them when they're in their boxes. They feel very, very vulnerable when they're in their litter boxes. So if the box is in a location where the cat can't see around the corner and in front of them and behind them and can't see out the entrance leading into the room, chances are they will not use that box. And that is why covered boxes are a huge deterrent for a cat to use that box. First of all, they can't see anything. So should an opponent, and this opponent can be real or imagined, should any opponent want to ambush that cat, he's in that litter box unable to see this opponent approaching. And the other thing with covered boxes is the litter does take longer to dry because the top holds in the moisture, and it also holds in the odors. So it's not something a cat really is going to run to use.
So you're going to talk about what type of litter to use as well, because you just mentioned something about drying. So if you've got a cover, maybe it doesn't dry as fast, but that depends on the litter you use, right?
And in general, cats like a soft, sandy type litter, something where the texture would be similar to what they're using outside. A cat doesn't really like a heavily perfumed litter, and cats are very tactile animals. Their paws are very sensitive. So some cats definitely prefer different textures over others, and sometimes it's a little bit of a trial and error period. But in general, cats like something that's kind of soft and sandy, similar to dirt that might be outside. There are some litters like cat attract litter that has herbs in it that attract the cat to use a litter
Like
box.
catnip?
Yeah, and I think some cats do like that, and that can be a strategy if you're having trouble getting your cat into the box. But you can also use behavioral modification techniques as well to help your cat develop positive associations with the litter box if he hasn't been loving his litter box to begin with. So there are a lot of things you can do.
So we're talking right now about one cat. You're going to talk about multiple cats,
I'll
right?
talk about whatever your little heart desires.
Good, because there's sometimes no issues when you've got one cat.
Yes.
But then if you decide, for whatever reason, you want a companion cat, whether or not the two cats are companions for each other or not, you might need to have additional resources.
Absolutely.
And that's
And let me
doubly-
just say, even with one cat,
Yeah.
sometimes they like to have a choice. Some cats don't like to poop and pee in the same box. So you can't always be 100% sure that even with one cat, one box is sufficient. So, but then when you have multiple cats wanting to stake out their territory and claiming their turf. You may not be aware of it because cats are kind of masters at subtle intimidations and posturings, but there could be turf wars going on in your home. So the suggestion is to always have at least one more box than you have cats. So if you have 3 cats, you should have 4 boxes. And sometimes something I see often is somebody will say to me, well, I have 3 boxes, and I'll go do a site visit, and they're kind of lined up in one room.
Like in a row. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
And I'll say, well, this kind of isn't really going to work because the idea of having multiple boxes is that you have multiple locations. You don't want the cat who's being intimidated to have to cross the path of the cat who's being the bully. So best case scenario is you have multiple boxes throughout the house, so each cat can kind of find the box that he or she feels the most comfortable in, it can get to the easiest. In general, cats don't really like to go spelunking on an indoor hike to get to their box, so people sometimes who put them really far away, like up in the attic or down in the basement, may run into issues too. And again, they're thinking of privacy, but cats will be fine doing their business
Right in the living room.
right in the living room. Yes, absolutely.
But I may not want to have the cat.
Right. I'm envisioning all the
Toileting.
sweeping with the tracking of the cat litter
Yes.
on all the floors. And, it's hard enough if you've got it kind of being tracked around on one floor. And so, is there a common ground that we can find with ourselves and our cats?
And you're absolutely right. I mean, when I do a cat behavior council, there are people who will say to me, whatever will work. I'll do whatever it takes. The sky's the limit. And then there are people saying, I'm not going to have any more than 1 box, and then they might have 5 cats. So I'm always trying to find the common ground. And my goal is I want that person to keep the cash. So sometimes I do, as you said, have to triage and think, okay, in this situation, which element of everything that I would suggest is probably going to get me the best result, and start with that. And often, sometimes people, if they see it's helping, might be a little more open to doing the rest of my suggestions. But in terms of, if you have 2 cats and if 3 boxes are really too many boxes for you, and I get it, I understand, not everybody wants a house full of litter boxes. I'm personally okay with that, but not everybody is. Then maybe I help them find the 2 locations that are going to be the farthest apart and in such a way that cats don't have to cross each other's paths to get to the boxes. So to answer your question, absolutely, I can find middle ground depending on what, each case is different, and each reason why the cat's not using the box is different. So I can try to find what the biggie is and work on that one first.
So right now, in my situation at home, I have a few cats, and I have some open boxes, almost as big as that, but not quite. And then I have some that have covers on it. I thought it was a clever idea to be able to hide a pan in it looked like a piece of furniture. I mean, it was nice. It was camouflage box. And actually, all of these varieties work, but I have multiple types in the house. So as long as there's no problem, I can keep things the way they are.
If your cats are happy, I come in when something isn't working. So if your cat is okay with it and they're getting along and they're using the boxes, don't change a thing.
Okay, all right.
Would be my advice. But people are calling me because things aren't working. So I come and look at the obvious things. I've had times where I tell people, I look at the room and I'll say, slide that box out 12 inches from the wall, and that's enough to fix this, just enough to fix it. The cat just couldn't see. Sometimes I'll go into a bathroom and it's behind the toilet, against the wall, the sink is here, and then of course every time the toilet flushes or someone uses the water, you hear the swoosh. And if a cat is in there and becomes startled, he will not go back in that box because he's now going to associate that box with something scary that snuck up on him.
They're not smarter than that? Sorry.
Mine are. Mine would never do that.
Right, okay, all right.
But other people's cats may think that way.
So what we have sitting here on the table is your example of a really good
box.
A good box. So the best thing to start out with, if you have no experience or if you're having issues with your cat, you should start out with a litter box that looks like this.
Start out with something that's uncovered. And what I like about this is it's a nice big box. So another problem is somebody will buy a litter box for their kitten, and then they don't understand why a year later, 2 years later, suddenly the cat doesn't want to go in the box. They're saying they always use the box. Well, they didn't get a bigger box for their now bigger cat. And cats do like to have room to kind of go in there and
turn around
and
scratch
and assess
cover.
the situation and cover. So if you have a box that's too small for your cat, he's not going to go in. And the other thing I like about
Or even better, he'll go in and he won't cover, and then it smells, right?
We don't want that either. Now, one thing about this box is it kind of has like the lip around it. So some cats who like to perch, it can be pretty good for those cats as well. The one thing I would say about this box is if your cat is older, you may want to think about a box that has lower sides.
Yep.
So some cats don't get into the box because they become arthritic, or they're just older and not quite as spry as they used to be. And sometimes a box with a size a little higher could be difficult for that cat. But for most cats, a box that looks like this, a nice, generous size, the sides aren't too high, a little bit of a lip will work for most cats.
My cat, one of them actually kind of does like a bit of a spray. So I have a even higher sized box, so that then, and also he just loves to dig to china. And so it's half the litter in the box is across the floor in the room, on the other side of the room, So I'm trying to prevent that by having, so it's sort of this game playing because I also don't want him to feel like he's trapped
Right.
in there.
Right.
But I'm also trying to minimize him like peeing, off the box.
Right. So if that's working and he's okay with it, I do see some products that you can put on the floor and they kind of catch the extra litter, the extra pee. They might have a lip around it, something like that could work as well. Some cats do. They make a big mess. Some cats don't cover up so great, but they walk out with the litter on them. So sometimes products that provide a little bit of a pathway to and from the box
Right.
or around, like a moat.
Right.
type
But I
thing.
worry about what they're feeling when they're in that moat because, like, I've tried those a couple of times and then they kind of get out and they're like, ew, this isn't like the floor,
Right.
So I try to be careful because I don't want to create a moat in the opposite way.
Right. Well, you don't
either.
want to create something they're not going to like to get to the box. So
Right.
there are like so many different products
out there.
and like I said, sometimes it's trial and error to see what works with your particular cat. But the main thing is we want the cats in the box, using the box, because for me, one of the biggest reasons people will surrender a cat is peeing outside of the box, peeing on the bed. I left my laundry on the floor and the cat peed on my laundry. So I really try to find what cats want to use the box. It's cleaner. So something or someone is preventing that cat from using that box, and I need to find out what
Right.
that is.
So in some situations, I'm thinking back to cats I've had or have, they know how to use the box. I've seen them in there.
Yes.
They're doing their business.
Yes.
But some of them, not all of them, will spray just because it's a bad habit that they've developed somewhere before I adopted them. But I can see them using the box. So I don't understand why there's the spraying outside the box, because clearly they're illustrating they know what to do in the box. And then there are other cats I've had, even females, that will catch a whiff of another cat. So if I have a guest over and they put their coat down and that person has a cat, they might be leaving with extra presents or new smells, which were a surprise to all of us.
Which isn't great for your friendships. I
No,
understand.
well, I have cat friends, so that's usually okay. But those are like, I mean, they're not completely unable to, they know what to do in the box. It's just they might spray or mark based on, I don't know.
Right.
Maybe
Well,
you can talk about
Well,
that.
intermittent box use is probably the hardest thing. And so that question is perfect because I actually was hoping to work this into the conversation, so now I can. Okay, with marking, spraying, territorial, when they use their pee in that way, it's usually because they don't feel completely confident with another cat or another potential cat that could be in the house. So that is where interactive play therapy comes in. And my recommendations when somebody has that problem is to use a fishing pole type toy and to play with the cat around the box. Now, when I call it interactive play therapy for a reason, and I know at this point everyone rolls their eyes. Oh, I know how to play with my cat. How hard can it be? But so many people don't do it in a way that builds confidence in the cat. So when you're playing interactively with the cat and using a fishing pole type toy, you want to think about really how prey would act. Think of it as the feline version of hide and seek. So sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, you're slithering around, you're moving fast, you're moving slowly. But what you want to do is give the cat plenty of opportunities to capture
Near the box.
near the box. So the capture is the part of the play that makes the cat feel confident, proud, good, and these are all good associations that you want around the box. A lot of people think the idea of the play is to kind of keep the toy away from the cat, but when you want to do it therapeutically, the idea is to give the cat as many captures as possible in the session. So say you're doing a 15-minute session, provide multiple captures. The cat will grab onto it. When he realizes the prey isn't moving, quote-unquote prey isn't moving, he'll loosen up his paws or his grip or his bite, and then you can proceed with the game. So you want to do a session, maybe 10 or 15 minutes, where the cat can get the toy as much as possible during the session. Then, when you're ready for the game to end, don't just say, oh my, will you look at the time, see ya. You want to kind of slowly wind down the action and let the cat have one final grand capture. And at that point, give the cat a treat or something really yummy that you know your cat loves. Every cat has that one thing that they go wild for. In this way, you simulate the feast after the hunt. And by doing this, you are now leaving your cat feeling so great about himself and so accomplished and master of his kingdom and king of the castle and I don't know, any other metaphors you can think of. And these types of things will help your cat not have that need to continually have to prove himself to the other potential cats in the home.
Okay, and that goes back to the box.
And do it near the box, so all of these great associations are also occurring near his box, which makes him think that this is part of these wonderful, positive associations. And if you do that enough, cats are very they're very much all about associations. I mean, a cat won't go in the box if he has a urinary tract infection and he has pain when he's peeing. He will not go in that box again because now he associates that box with the pain. What I said before with the toilet flush, if the box is behind a pipe and you flush the toilet and he's startled, he will not go in that box again because he's associating the box with a startle. We're going to associate the box with positive feelings of accomplishment and hunting and being in charge, and this is my territory and I got my prey, and all of those feelings which will boost his confidence, feel good about the box, and will deter him from that need to have to mark to prove himself.
Very interesting.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
And you should be doing this every day with your cat.
I would aim, again, I don't want to deter anyone from not, if they say, oh, I could never do this. If you could do 2 sessions, 2 10 to 15 minute sessions a day, you will see a difference. Not only that, but interactive play with a fishing pole type toy is probably the most intense way for you to bond with your cat. And that will help too. If he knows you're even more bonded and you're very tied together, that's going to help with the whole process as well.
So, and it's work with males who feel the need to
Yes.
spray.
Yes.
I do know from talking to other people that they think, I've got this great boy cat, but he sprays. So, and I'd love to keep him in the house all the time, but he's spraying. So it'd be much easier to let him out for a little bit, and we can both manage our lives.
And I think that could potentially make it even worse if he's
I
indoor
think so.
outdoor, because the outdoor environment is even less of his owned territory
There's even
than the
more
house.
stimulation and more cats who could be potentially rougher and tougher than he is, and more territory that he has to make sure that is his own. So that's even more tension and anxiety, and then he could potentially bring that into the house and spray more. So we want him to feel like his territory is his. He's very confident in his territory. He feels good about his territory, and that will kind of spill over into his interactions in his territory.
So can we switch the topic to scratching?
Okay, we're ready.
And we will not scratch this very nice furniture in this brand new studio here. We'll be very careful with the furniture here.
I'm being very careful.
So
Those
with
claws,
scratching,
you've got to watch out for Rachel's claws.
I know. So we all have furniture that has probably been scratched by our cats, and a lot of people. In the days when I was handling a lot of surrender calls, people would call me up and just say, I've just gone through 4 couches, I can't do it anymore, and blah, blah, blah. And we have the decline conversation, and then we also have, options and opportunities so that our cats don't destroy our furniture. So maybe we should first talk about declawing and why that's not an option.
Well, declawing is basically torture for a cat. It does sound very benign. I'm just going to remove the claw. The name doesn't really describe what happens, and basically the process involves chopping off at the knuckles for the cat, and this results often in lifelong pain. It doesn't feel good for the cat, but not
You
only
said
that,
chopping off, it's like amputation, right?
amputation would be a good word, yeah, and not in a good way, not to save a life or save a limb. Amputation in the worst possible way, my opinion. So not only that, so not only does it hurt physically, and not only does it usually leave the cat with lifelong pain, but there's an emotional component as well. When the cat doesn't have his claws, again, he feels vulnerable. Whether or not he needs to protect himself at any given moment, he knows he can't. So cats who are declawed often become biters. They'll bite because it's just an instinct to protect themselves,
Because they don't have claws.
because they don't have claws. And I often hear so many times, how do I stop my cat from scratching? And part of my job is to teach people, we want our cats to scratch. Scratching serves a lot of purposes for a cat. The obvious, it sloughs off the dead sheaths from the nails, but it also is an emotional release for a cat. Cats feel really good when they scratch and they get that full stretch. It releases tension, it releases anxiety.
It's like yoga.
It could be thought of as cat yoga. Maybe people would accept it more. Also, they stretch their back muscles. They get that release in there. It's like a massage,
Yeah.
to stay on the topic. So we really do want our cats to scratch. It's really good for our cats to scratch. Just not on our furniture and just not on our carpet. So how do we get our cats to scratch in the places we would like them to, but in a place that meets the cat's needs as well? So what I see a lot is people buy scratching posts that are covered with carpet in different colors. And people do this because it matches their decor, which is lovely, but a carpet-covered post is totally useless for a cat. It doesn't have the proper texture for their nails, and oftentimes their claws can actually get stuck in the little carpet loops. And once that happens, they will never use that post again, as we're talking about association. So if they do something with the post and it hurts, that post will never get touched. So what people need to think about is getting a scratching post that is either rope wrapped or sisal wrapped. Those are the textures they can really sink their claws into. The other thing is that post needs to be high enough. I see a lot of posts that are maybe like 1 foot or 2 feet tall.
They're good for kittens.
A post should be at least 3 feet tall for a grown cat, at least 3 feet tall. And look at how the post is made. Is it wobbly? If so, the cat's not going to use it. If it falls on the cat or it's wobbling while the cat uses it, the cat will never touch it again. So sometimes I can solve the problem just by saying, this post is inadequate.
Right, right.
Get the
something
post that
solid.
has A, B, and C, and the cat will often use it. Sometimes if you put the post on the side and you do an interactive play session, like I described on the post, and once the cat sinks his claws into that post and realizes what he's just discovered, you're all set. So oftentimes it's just a matter of letting the cat know, hey, we have this great post over here. Let me get you to try it. And once that happens, the cat is okay, and then you can kind of put it back upright, and they will use it. If you do have a hardcore scratcher who's scratching your furniture, and you want to try a deterrent, think something slick or sticky.
Like tape?
Double-sided tape is great. You could take a carpet runner and turn it upside down with that nubby side up, and they don't like that. But remember, if you're deterring, you have to at the same time provide the more acceptable option that you want your cat to use. So what you want is your cat to come over to the spot where he's always been scratching, and now he finds out it's unscratchable because it's covered with something slick or sticky. And then he looks, hey, what's this? I think I'll try that. And then he tries the great new scratching post, and he realizes actually how much better this post is. So when you deter and you cover your furniture, you have to also place the post nearby that you want the cat to use. So you have to deter and attract at
Redirect.
the same time.
It's redirect.
And you can redirect, yes.
So do you use the same theory though, like with the number of cats you have with the litter boxes? It's like the number of cats plus one. Do we do for the number of cats we have cat trees plus one, or is there more sharing in?
I think there's more sharing because it's not quite as personal, for lack of a better term, as a litter box. But there are cats who really want a scratching post with their own scent on it. So if you do find that there's some posturing or intimidating going around the scratching post that you might see in the litter box, then absolutely get another post. So that's kind of, I don't see it as often, but there are cats who absolutely want to use a post with their own scent and have it be their post.
By the way, my cats also like those cardboard boxes that you can buy now. They're not too expensive,
Yeah.
but they're corrugated cardboard in some rectangular shape, and I
Yeah.
throw some catnip down on them, and they tear those to shreds.
And
Those
thanks for bringing that up, because actually some cats are horizontal scratchers. They don't really love the vertical. Some cats prefer the horizontal. So sometimes that's an option too. Maybe your cat doesn't like the vertical post. And sometimes I'll say to people, try some horizontal scratchers. And that might solve the problem as well. And you can look for clues in your house. So if the cat is going on the furniture here, he's probably a vertical guy. But if you see it all over your carpet this way, he's probably a horizontal guy. He prefers that. So start off with what you know your cat already likes for the redirection part of the procedure.
So our last big three topic is fighting or aggression. And maybe we should talk about fighting of our outdoor kitties, because some folks in Chelsea, with the number of outdoor kitties that we have, probably hear a lot of cat fighting outside. And so maybe we should talk about outdoor kitties and fighting, and then transfer that conversation sort of into the indoor realm.
So outdoor cats, especially if they are intact males, are going to fight more. There's going to be more aggression issues. There will be many more territorial issues. And outdoor intact males tend to roam more and tend to be more aggressive with taking on that territory as their own. There are ways to take an outdoor cat and transition that cat into the indoors. And I know a lot of people think it can't be done, but really the idea is there's two aspects to a cat wanting to go outdoors. One is kind of the excited anticipation of all the stimulation he's going to receive, and the other is the territorial aspect. So when you bring a cat indoors, if you, within your home, provide that same stimulation and excitement, if you replicate what he might find outside, you'll find your cat will be just as happy indoors. And if you do things like interactive play and have opportunities for bonding and for hunting, then your cat will be just as happy indoors as he was outdoors, probably happier. Because a lot of people think that because a cat sits at the door and wants to go out, it's because he loves being outside. But really, he wants to go out again because he's full of tension and anxiety about what's going on out there. He wants to monitor the situation and make sure Fluffy over here isn't coming on his territory, or Puffy over here isn't coming too close to what he perceives as his territory. And there's a lot of stress to manage all of that and monitor all of that. It's not really a good time.
Right.
So when they're inside and they clearly have their own territory marked and their scent, and there aren't other cats coming onto their territory, or even other predators that they don't know, it's actually much more calm and happy for the cat.
And of course, everybody has to be spayed and neutered, too, which helps calm the hormones down quite a bit.
The
too.
difference between a male cat who's neutered or unneutered is like night and day. All of that, the roaming behavior, the aggression, male cats when they're neutered are much more affectionate with their owners. So absolutely. Cats who aren't spayed and they're going into heat, I mean, the yowling, they yowl so loudly, you're going to have like every tomcat in the neighborhood on your porch waiting to see what's going on, and that will all go away. Cats who haven't been spayed will also spray out of the litter box. So all of those behaviors will go away with having your cat spayed or neutered. And not only that, it's a health issue. There are a lot of diseases and cancers that cats can get if they're not spayed or neutered. So it's just better all the way around.
And there's no excuse because we offer to do it for free in Chelsea for Chelsea residents. So there really isn't, this is the golden opportunity to take advantage of this offer, so that if you do have cats in your backyard or if you have them in your house and you want to get them spayed or neutered, this is the time to really focus on getting those cats fixed.
Yeah, you really can't beat that. You'll have a much more loving cat in your home. Your cat will live a longer, healthier life, and it's free. So what a wonderful opportunity, really.
Yeah.
So that's really just picking up the phone and making the call, right?
Exactly. Giving us a call at 857-776-2287. So as we begin to close out today's show, and I can't believe our time is flying by,
So many cat behavior issues in so little time.
are there any other sort of little tips or tricks that you'd like to share with our listeners and our viewers today?
So just with the scratching post, I guess one thing I should mention is if you're not sure if your cat is a horizontal scratcher or a vertical scratcher, and maybe you see it kind of everywhere and it's not obvious, you can always buy a traditional scratching post and place it on its side.
That's a
And
good point.
yeah, so you don't have to kind of go one way or the other, and that way you can try it both ways with that post. And sprinkling catnip along the post, I think you mentioned that. Playing with the cat along the post. All these are great ways to get the cat interested in the post. But one thing I want to mention, when you get your cat interested in the post, don't take his paws and kind of place it onto the post. Try to teach him that that's the post, that the post is there and he's going to like it. That's going to scare the cat and kind of make him have tension and anxiety, which we don't want, because then he won't go and use that post.
And I would say that's the same too with litter box issues. I mean, we have to be careful. I know that if a cat does something that we don't like, we're going to potentially feel some anger and all that kind of stuff. And so we have to be careful about how we behave around our cats if they do something that we feel is inappropriate.
We really do, because for a cat to think that the one person that he loves so much is angry at him is confusing to the cat, because often the cat doesn't really understand what he did wrong. He's just following some type of instinct that he has. He's not trying to do anything purposely, bad. So yelling at your cat or yelling no or loud noises in this case don't really help.
Punishment, right.
Punishment will not help when a cat is instinctively doing something. Yeah.
And just lastly, just to touch upon, before we think about wrapping up, I'd just like to, how do you recommend introducing two cats together so that they don't end up fighting?
That can be a whole show in and of itself.
So giving you the 3 to 5 minute window.
But basically, throughout that process, you always want to go at the cat's pace. So you never want to put your cats together until each cat is feeling safe and it is not exhibiting any behaviors that would show the cat's not feeling good. So the cat's grooming himself, the cat's not hissing, the cat's not growling, the cat's not hiding. So you should never just bring home a new cat and plop him into your cat's home. Your resident cat is going to think that his territory is up for grabs, and the new cat is going to feel like he's just been plopped onto enemy territory. So you really need to go through a process with placing the new cat into a room of his own, and don't think of it as a prison. The new cat will actually feel safer and secure more secure in there. He's going to have a whole house with all kinds of new smells and new sounds and new cats and new people to figure out. That's enough for now. And that gives the resident cat enough time to kind of process and smell and understand that there's a new being in there. But there is really a process you need to go through with scent swapping and soil swapping and group play and group feeding and everything in gradations and moving the cats slowly together. But if you ever want to have me come back and do a show just on introductions and reintroductions, I would love to do that. Because if your cats aren't getting along, you can always step back and go through a reintroduction process in order to try to get them to tolerate each other.
Very interesting. So, so in terms of updates, what's been happening with Hubcats Chelsea, we had a very busy 2017. You want to fill us in on some of the numbers and
Well, we had a number of clinics for rabies vaccination and microchipping. We did a couple of those. And we'll be looking to do another one, I guess, in June 2018. And then you can find all of this information about programs that we're supporting on the hubcatschelsea.com website. And I think we'll have over 1,000 cats and dogs in the period of 12 months or so.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good achievement.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah.
Thanks, Rachel.
You're very good.
Yeah, and we always can use volunteers. We are doing a lot of fundraising, a lot of outreach, putting together a program like this, which with the support of the city, which is fantastic, and meeting folks and bringing them on the show, which is really enjoyable. But we can always use volunteers. We tend to meet the first Tuesday of every month at the police station, at the Chelsea Police Department. So feel free to join us there. Check the website and our Facebook page with details on that. Any last thoughts, Laura or Rachel, before we close?
I think we've covered most of the bases.
And if you'd like, I can give my information.
Contact
Yes.
information,
Yes.
please
So
do.
if you've watched this show and now you realize you have all kinds of questions, you can reach me at my email address, drrachelgeller@gmail.com. And again, that's drrachelgeller@gmail.com. I get back to everybody, so email away, and hopefully I can help you with your questions.
Rachel, excellent. Thank you so much for joining us again on the
You're
show.
welcome.
Laura, as always, it's a pleasure. Thank you for coming and helping out with the show and everything and making this program happen. This was your brainchild. To donate to Hubcats Chelsea, you can go to www.hubcatschelsea.com or find us on Facebook. Please, I can't stress it any more than I already do, which is please join us. Help us really be able to help all the cats and dogs that need our assistance in Chelsea. We need as much help as possible to make a difference for cats and dogs in the community. Our phone number is 857-776-2287. And our email is hubcatschelsea@gmail.com. Thank you, and we will see you next time for our next edition. There'll be no cat left behind in Chelsea.